Amber Toole is to my right. I don't know if you all see the same way. Maybe she's down below me. I don't know where she is, but she's looking mighty pretty in her red top. She holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in physical education and health. And through educating, coaching, training, and teaching, Amber is focused on self-care through safe and effective exercise, proper nutrition, stress management techniques, recovery, and rest. I'm going to focus on the recovery and rest. I love that. And then we've got Carolyn Fetters with us. She has a bachelor's degree in functional fitness and nutrition from UCLA and an associate's degree in applied sciences. And she's the founder and CEO of Balanced Habits. She's going to tell us about that. I found it really interesting, offering nutrition systems that can be brought into gyms and that also trainers can implement, which is really neat. It's some cool technology. And Sohailla is one of our favorite presenters. She offers 20 years of experience. She's a registered dietitian, a licensed dietitian. She's a nutritionist. She's a fitness pro, national speaker, author. She's got a wonderful, wonderful book. It's Countdown to Your Best Body Success Journal. She's also got a cookbook. Do you have the cookbook, the Best Body Cookbook and Menu Plan? Love this. I think if you guys know, I started cooking over the pandemic. Don't spread the rumors around, but she is my hero. She is the one that taught me that you don't have to constantly be eating. You should make your body aware of when you're actually hungry. So I'm telling you, that extra 4 pounds that I've been carrying disappeared when I followed her advice. So I love these ladies. Amber, we found during COVID. Carolyn has become our new best friend because of all this technology she brings into us. So we're going to start today by doing me a favor. Move your mouse, go to the bottom of your screen. You're going to see your green share button. I love this. Jackie from Alabama already typed in. Dan and Helen from Waikiki. You're going to go to the left of that. You're going to see the chat box. I want you to type in your questions. These ladies are a wealth of knowledge, and we're gonna suck them dry. We love this. So type in your name and where you're from. I want to make sure you can do this. Heidi is from Northern California. We've got Bobby from Rosemont. Hi, Bobby. We've got people from Chicago, from Oregon. This is fantastic. Charlotte, North Carolina, Michigan, Georgia, Maryland. I love this. So we're going to start. So Helen, I'm going to start with you. With quarantine making clients so sedentary, what are some of your favorite go-to ways to increase a client's need? And we were talking about this non-exercising activity thermogenesis. Now, I thought it was when you're kind of non-activity, when you're kind of sitting on a couch doing nothing, how much calories are you burning? So how do we kick that up? But could you explain it a little better than I have?
Sure. Okay, so that's kind of a big phrase, but it's the N for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So it's when you're not at the gym in the full tennis shoes, needing the full shower afterward, and you can burn about a typical workout's 300 to 500 calories. And I know for some people that sounds like it's not very many, but for the average person, a typical gym workout is around 300 to 500 calories. And so you can burn on average of about 400 calories a day just with general movement. And so we don't want people to work out so hard that they don't move the rest of the day and they just say, I checked the move box. We want them to move all day. I always say you're meant to move. And so there's different ways you can move. My kids are always like, where are you going, Mom? I'm like, walking to the mailbox because I'm on the phone, and me and the mailbox get together whenever I'm on the phone. I do a quick loop. I have a long driveway. So there's lots of different things you can do to get moving. I know it's one of the more famous things that the Apple Watch is famous for, to tell you to stand up. And so if you have a staircase in your house, or if you're in an office where there's a stairway, if you just turn on your very favorite song, and I like to keep a playlist of like good mood songs that like Summer of 69 or Love Shack or something that you can't frown while you're listening to it. And then you just go up and down your stairs until the song's over, get a little winded, but not enough that you have to like stop everything and take a major shower, and you can get back to work. And to do something like that every hour in the day is really advantageous for stress relief too. It helps manage your cortisol surges. And so you can do those things. And then even little things that are kind of in the rest and recovery area of NEAT is to have something like this to roll on your legs at your desk, or something like this by your couch to roll. If you're going to watch your favorite show, then roll part of it, whatever it is that can be part of movement. So it's not on full on jumping jacks necessarily, but it can be. And I like to just kind of nerd out and put things around my house. I did this with a group of people at the start of the pandemic where we went through all of our things in our house and tried to find things that would trip us up if we didn't stop and do them. So I hung this on a little hook in my kitchen where a dishcloth usually hangs, so that when I walk by it, my kids would be like, how many can you do before you mess up, and see if I can beat them. I have 3 kids, 11, 15, and 17. And so just different things like that, or whether
you got 11, 15, and 17. I think you're using that jump rope for other things.
Good idea. But actually, even teenage boys think you're cool if you can whip out 100 fast jump ropes with some double unders in there. They're like, oh, my mom's a rock star. I'm like, don't you forget it. And so all those things are good for your stress relief and all those kind of things. And it really does boost your mood and all that sort of stuff. So it can be 10-minute workouts. It can be YouTube clips. And I know the other ladies have some good ones to share too. So I'll have
yeah. And so, Sohailla's just this wealth of knowledge. I love what you also said about cortisol, because we're working, and also we're dealing with this pandemic, and we're on school, Zooms with teachers, or talking to the principal and figuring out mask policies for the school, and our cortisol levels going up. So I think it was you, Sohailla, that recommended, pop your earbuds in and take a quick walk while you're on some type of conference call. You said you walk to your mailbox, which is awesome. I basically walk my dog. So, and Carolyn, what are some things that you work with your clients on to help them just pick up their metabolism a little bit?
Well, first of all, I love everything that you just said, Sohailla. Those are all great ideas. With our clients, I think a lot of them have been frustrated and they really don't know what to do. And unfortunately, a lot of people think that they have to dedicate 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes to exercise every day. And we really just try to talk them through that 5 minutes of something is better than 5 minutes of nothing. So we really try to encourage them to get up, do their stairs, walk the dog. How many of us have seen those memes of the dogs who now the people have gone back to work and they're just like, what happened? Because we were all walking our dogs multiple times a day, which was wonderful for everyone. But so just anything is better than nothing. So that's pretty much where we come from, is we're dealing a lot with behavior modification. So getting out of the mindset that you can do something rather than nothing if you can't dedicate, X amount of minutes per day. So that's really what we talk about.
And what's important is that we forget a lot that we're the weird ones. I like to exercise. I love to wake up in the morning and go, what did I do yesterday? Other people hate that. They hate to sweat. They don't like getting warm. Their makeup is gone. They smell. It's usually everyone who's around me. But if we can, like you said, Carolyn, get them to just move. And like Sohailla, you said, it doesn't have to be this dedicated, incredible HIIT workout in the morning that exhausts you and then you lay on the couch all day. You just need to keep moving. Mm-hmm. Amber, what are some extra things that you do with your clients?
So I love to encourage people, especially we still have a lot of people who are working from home, and to get those extra neat calories in, I always tell them, look around. You need to do something that is fun during the day. So if you've got a dog, get up and play with them. Get on the floor, toss the toy with them, run around a little bit. They're going to love it. Your endorphins are going to release. You're going to feel better. If you don't have a dog, or cats aren't very playful usually, but kids or grandkids, just getting down in the floor and playing with them for a little bit. Also, if you're sitting at a desk, set your timer or use your Apple Watch when it taps you to get up, and spend a little time doing some body weight exercises, some squats, or you could dance to your favorite song, or even just getting up and stretching. Because we're sitting at the computer rounded forward, head forward, we really need to open all of that up. So I teach my clients to take a little stretch break. I show them some things to do on the foam roller. These are easy things that they can do at home within 3 to 5 minutes. That's definitely going to help them with those neat calories.
Oh, that's great. That's some great advice. What are some of your, Amber, I'm going to start with you. What are some of your favorite fat burning workouts?
All right. Well, I encourage all of my people, strength training from the start. We've got to maintain that muscle mass that we have. And especially if you are over 30, and double especially if you are perimenopausal, menopausal, or postmenopausal, we've got to get those strength training workouts in, challenging those muscles, maintaining that muscle mass, because that muscle mass is going to keep our regular calorie burn up. And then also, I'm not a real big fan of people just going out and doing steady state cardio. Unless it's for some stress reduction. I really encourage my clients to do more HIIT training, high intensity interval training. Let's shorten it. Get a 15 to 20 minute workout in where you're really getting that heart rate up and then bringing it down for a short time and then getting it back up. We know that that is going to give us a much longer calorie burn when we get done with it. It's going to keep that EPOC, that excess post-exercise consumption, up for up to like 24 hours, which is more calorie burn. So if you're looking to burn that fat, strengthen the muscles, get those HIIT workouts in.
Sara, you muted.
I am. I'm muted because my son's doing the vibrating foam roller right above my head. Okay. I had to put the dog in the room. I've done everything right. And he's like, can you hear the buzzing? I'm just going to pretend it's a lawnmower. But we got a great question from Kimberly. How do you avoid the yo-yo body? I'm going to ask you, Sohailla, about this. It seems like I have to be so strict to get lean. Do you have any suggestions for Kimberly? And frankly, for so many of our clients who experience this.
I do. I know what you mean when you say you have to be so strict to get lean. It feels like you're just going to be on this exact path that has no flexibility or enjoyment. I do think everybody needs to really think about their season of life and what's reasonable. It might be that it's not summer bikini time and you can relax a little bit without going overboard if that's really important to you, or it might be that you're perimenopausal and you need to relax a little bit there, or that you've just had a baby, or that you've recently had a surgery. I think we need to have a flexible range so that it's not an exact minuscule decimal, because a lot of times people say my perfect weight is 122.2, and they get this number in their head that they saw that one time that they, dehydrated themselves and had the stomach bug the day before and the flu the week before, and they have this ideal number that's not really realistic, but that's what they think of as lean. So first of all, I think it's healthier to find a range. Like for most women, it's a 5-pound range, and for most men, it might be a 7 or 8 pound range that they can fluctuate between and still consider themselves lean and healthy. But I do think I know what you mean about that strictness, and that can cause over restriction. And when we restrict too much, we often spin ourselves into a binge restrict cycle. And I think people do that without even knowing it. Like many of the people on this webinar right now may be in that cycle, and they don't even realize that their weekend is kind of a mini binge cycle that's undoing the calorie burn of their Monday through Friday efforts. And so what I teach my clients to do is really every Thursday, the people that are in my support group have to fill out a check-in form, and they have to tell me what they see coming over the weekend, when they want to make their strategic splurges. And that's what we call them, the triple S. What's your strategically savor slowly? What are you going to look forward to having that you're not going to shame yourself for, that you're going to say is part of wellness, it's part of my life, but that you're not going to let your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday steps take 2 giant leaps backwards every weekend, or every stressful time, or every emotional time. And I think it might seem like I'm getting off topic, but I think a lot of times that is where the yo-yo is coming from. It's coming from, I restricted so long that now I don't even care. My give a care fell out of my pocket and I'll do whatever I want. Or I did so well Monday through Friday, I deserve this weekend of indulgence or cheat days. And you can eat so many calories on a cheat day of mindlessness, and then you wonder why you never lost that weight that you worked so hard to. And it's not that your exercise wasn't efficient. You really have a hard time working out the accessibility and the calories and the amount that you can do if you're not mindful.
What I love that you bring up is just making people aware of it. So if we're dealing, let's say I'm a group fitness instructor and I teach a class. I actually teach my yoga class Monday morning and Friday morning. I do it through the Talent Hack, which is it's an online thing. I'm teaching yoga online, so hell, I'm doing that now. But I would love to be able to remind them on Friday morning, saying the weekend's coming up. You've been great all week. What are you going to do over the weekend? And I love that forgiveness. And Carolyn, you nodded your head when Sohailla mentioned that. You seem to have a realistic view of your clients.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I find a lot of people are doing is they're eating to lose weight rather than eating to feel a certain way. And once you teach them about how, all of the, icing on the cake things that they don't really pay attention to, they're only focused on the scale because the diet industry teaches them that you're only successful if you're losing weight on a scale. They don't take into consideration that you're sleeping better, you have more energy, you have more confidence, you're holding yourself more, your shoulders are back and you just feel better. And so we spend a lot of time focusing with our clients on how do you feel physically, emotionally, everything. And that tends to be, I think, a bigger why for them, so that when they do go into the weekend, if they screw up, they're aware of how they feel, and then they're less likely to have those days. They might have an indulgence meal, which we can totally stand behind, but an indulgence day or a cheat day, I don't stand behind. And so we focus on how are you feeling, versus what's the scale saying. And that tends to create a little bit more buy-in from them for longevity. So that's kind of where we're coming from. I love everything that you said, and I don't disagree with you in any way, but I've been doing this so long and working with people so long that I recognize that we have to get them to be cognizant of those things that they just kind of dismiss that are really important.
Yeah, I know you've been in this industry, Carolyn, like 30 years, 3 decades. It's a long time. And I also like talking about the seasons. Like,
yeah, that was great.
I certainly don't have, I kind of almost weigh the same as I did, in my 30s, but now I'm in my 60s. And it's just like, it ain't that pretty when you're trying to put on that bikini. I'm looking and I'm like, take a deep breath. You don't have to wear a bikini. You're okay. Walk around the grocery store, take a good look around. You're doing all right. You're doing it, keeping the mental state going. Amber, some clients they may not be comfortable with masks on. And I know we're going back into this Delta variant cycle, and we're in Illinois, New York, California, I think Utah did it. Oh, a whole bunch of states and a whole bunch of different counties are requiring masks again because we got above a certain level with COVID and unvaccinated people. Do you structure your workouts differently if people are wearing masks? Like you talked about the HIIT workout, are you more of a proponent of outside, or how do we deal with this? Give us some inspiration here so we go back to put masks on at the gym.
Sure thing. Well, in my studio, we're a little bit smaller, and we've done a couple of things to help people feel better with this. The majority of our people don't wear masks here, but we have the option of we live Zoom all of our classes. So if someone has been exposed, we ask them to live Zoom instead of coming in, or if they're nervous about it, they can still work out with us from home. We do have some people who wear masks, and that's their preference. We kind of leave it up to our people to decide. I will tell you that during earlier in the year, before we were able to get vaccinated, I wore a mask to work out. Most days it was fine, but on leg day, I like to have died a couple of times. It was really hard when my heart rate got up. I can tell you right now, I would never do a HIIT workout with a mask on. I would either just do it at home where I could feel safe, or outside, or whatever. So it really, I feel like it's up to the individual to decide what's best for them and to find the facility that's going to work make them feel comfortable. But there's so much online now that if you don't want to be around other people, you can still get a great workout at home, because I know we do it. And I know there's a lot of other options for that.
Yeah, and I think the hybrid model is here to stay. And it's really interesting. Like sometimes I get so depressed that we're not back to it. We get so close and then we fall back. But there are clubs opening all over the country. Yes, we've had so many, almost 22% of the health clubs closed, but we have others opening. So there's always that silver lining that at least now we have our hybrid, our streaming classes. We did get a great question here about the 80-20 rule. What do you think about that, Carolyn? What do you think about the 80-20 rule? And I'm assuming that means 80% of the time I'm good and 20% of the time it's like my chocolate indulgence. I'm not quite sure. Without the strawberries. So
yeah, no.
Strawberries.
Well, one thing that I know is the second you tell people what they can't have, they want it 10 times more, right? So we believe that this is a saying that we use all the time. There's no such thing as bad foods. There's only bad portion sizes. So I learned really early that the way that people are most successful is when they self-eliminate. So instead of me saying no more chocolate covered strawberries, Sarah, you're going to want it so badly, I'll just say have one with every single meal of the day, and then eventually you'll just be over it. So if you can live 80% of the time being perfect, which that's pretty difficult, that's asking a lot, then you don't want to undo that with 20%. That's the cheat day. That's 2 cheat days, right? Instead of, we like to take how many meals you ate in a week, right? And then take a certain percentage, maybe 10% of that. And then that's your cheat indulgences per that week. So, if you had 40 great meals in a week, then you get like 2.8 cheat meals, in a week. So, I don't know, it's up to everyone. But again, if it's going to make you feel bad because of how you ate and now you have no energy and your sleeping is off and everything, then was it worth it? I don't know.
Now, yeah, and this is interesting. Judith wrote, if it's not in the house, you won't be tempted. Now, Sohailla went and she puts good things out, like the jump rope and the bands and the roller, and the foam roller that's near the couch. So if you leave the good things out, maybe they'll indulge in them. And I know Tricia Silverman always says it. She's like, put it away at 8 o'clock, turn the lights off in the kitchen, and you are not going back in there. It is closed, the door is shut. Or now with these open formats that we all have our homes in, it's kind of like you're sitting in the living room. I could just basically lean over and I'm like in my kitchen grabbing the popcorn out of the cabinet. But that's kind of interesting stuff. Why do you think people gained weight during the pandemic when they had more time at home and more time to work out? So Amber, what do you think?
So I love this question. And first off, for a lot of people, I feel like they didn't have the habits in place to begin with. And everybody says, oh, if I had more time, oh, if I had this, oh, if I didn't work so much, if I didn't have kids, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you don't figure out how to do it with how your life is now, you're not magically going to start doing it. And we saw that happen. So that was a big part of it. And they just weren't motivated because they didn't already do this. Now, there was the small group of people who did have good habits, but what happened is their regular routine got disrupted and they didn't have a plan in place. So they weren't able to shift and figure out, how do I make this work? Some of that also could have been, it was a stressful time. There was a lot of things going on, a lot of fear around that, a lot of uncertainty. And for some people that just stacked and stacked and stacked, and then they just did not have the mental ability to even focus on other things besides the chaos that was going on in life. But just a little thought. So when you say to yourself, oh, well, when I'm out of this season and I'm not so busy and I'm retired, I'm going to do this. No, you're not. not if you don't have those habits in place.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
that kind of goes along with, oh goodness, who said this? I'm trying to figure out, somebody's gonna have to say this again. But they said, I don't call it a cheat. She calls it a treat. This was
Yes.
Shirley. And because it's like you get a little treat. It's not like you're being bad, because sometimes
Nope.
if you're bad, you start spiraling down and you indulge even more. But I like that. I thought that was very clever. And having healthy food that's already prepped and easy to access. And that was suggested by Heidi. Lots of people were at home but did not have more time, which is interesting. And this is something Elizabeth brought up. Hello, if we've got our kids home, let's say we're Zooming and we're working, and I've got a homeschool, they actually have less time than they ever had. So this is, this was a difficult time. How did you help people navigate through this, Sohailla? Because I know you do a support group. Do you do it, is it every day of the week, or is it on Thursdays? How do you manage your clients?
My support group is Facebook group based, and it's online, and then it has app segments. Like right now we're doing a Get on Track app piece that's for 8 weeks, and it's to help people get back on track after the summer, because it was already said that routine being thrown off can really mess people up. And a lot of times I'll tell people, here comes a holiday, your routine's going to be thrown off. What's your plan to get back on track? And teaching some of those strategies of how they're going to recover after a vacation or after a wedding or whatever it is, a graduation, so they don't realize that, so they don't think that life isn't just these little segments of success, but they can consider all of it part of their big journey of wellness. And I think that ties back into the 80-20 rule. And part of why that's successful for people is because they're giving themselves some of that grace, whether like Carolyn, you do it in percentages of meals, or like me, we do it in strategic splurges that they plan ahead. And I ask them to tell me what day of the week is worth that glass of wine or two. Is it really needed every day? Or should we spread it out and put it at the times where you really enjoy it the most and you can really savor it the most? Or do you really just want to walk in and gobble it down and use it for coping? Is that what you meant to do? And thinking through these things with people. And I think part of why that pandemic pudge happened, probably especially around the waist, is because stress, it's like a vicious cycle, right? It surges our stress hormones, which causes our body to think that we're about to do something amazing. So it gives us all these extra macronutrients flooding our bloodstream with protein and fat and calories and carbohydrates to do this big bear fight, as Melissa always calls it when we talk about that, to fight the bear. And then if we don't fight the bear and instead we sit down and have a glass of wine, my goodness, that cortisol is still up there. And then we have this false sense of relaxation from the depressant of the wine, but then we have a disrupted sleep, which doesn't help us to recuperate, because the wine and the stress can disrupt our sleep. And I'm not trying to get really on a downward spiral, but it is a vicious cycle that I think people can turn around into what I call a vivacious cycle or a virtuous cycle, whichever you like to call it, by saying, okay, let's take one of those things and think about whether it's really worth it, or whether it's really relieving my stress, or what could I do differently. And it might be, like you said, we talked about, putting the jump rope at place. It might be like, one thing, I love dark chocolate. And this is just one little thing, and it's not super healthy, but it's a bare naked granola, and it's cacao and cashew butter. And if I put it on a vanilla flavored Greek oikos yogurt, it feels kind of indulgent to me, especially if I have melted frozen raspberries over the top that I take out of the freezer at night and then just pour over, and it's really like bright magenta, and it just makes me feel like it's something indulgent. And it's really not that indulgent, because I just put a little bit of this, and it comes out to be, almost 30 grams of protein and lots of calcium and lots of antioxidants. And so I think we can plan things in that don't have to be over the top and shooting ourselves in the foot, to help us enjoy food and enjoy and relieve stress, because food can also sometimes relieve stress. We just don't want it to be a crutch. We want it to be a part of the joy of wellness, I think. So I'm kind of shooting that question in a couple of different directions to bring back the 80-20 question too. But I think being strategic
it helps. It helps put everything in perspective. And Carolyn, what do you find with your clients tends to work to help them? They're at home and maybe they did have time, maybe they didn't have time, but they're stuck at home. And now hopefully it's freedom time. And I also find, and I'm just finding this with myself, suddenly I'm able to go to a restaurant, okay, And if I'm sitting outside, I don't have to wear a mask. And now it's like, well, I'm going to eat whatever I want, and I'm going to have, oh, we'll split a dessert. Well, let's get 3 for the table, even though there's 4 of us. Well, you know what? That whole dessert is enough calories for 1 meal, even half of that does it, but so how do you manage all that with your clients?
Well, it's funny. I love the without a plan, because if you don't have a plan, like everything just doesn't work. Even a goal, if you have a goal, but you don't have a plan to reach the goal, you're never going to be able to reach the goal because you didn't have steps in place. So first, when we would talk to people, it kind of depends on the time of the pandemic. Where we are today is like a lot less restrictive than it was back then. So now I think we are, finding that people are going out more and doing kind of what you just said, and, letting loose, and they're getting things that they wouldn't make for themselves, which tends to be not necessarily the best choices of food. But I really like not giving them the freedom to not beat themselves up. It's like, if you're going to do it, like Sohailla says, plan it. Plan that you're going to go out and do that and enjoy it, and then move on, or get right back on track, rather than, feeling bad about it. So I do think there's a lot of power in giving people that confidence that, you're doing everything great. When you're going to go out, you're going to enjoy yourself. You're not going to get a chicken breast and, broccoli. You're going to get something fun, and then that's it. And then you go back on track. So I think one of the things that they just really feel is that they're afraid. They think they have to be perfect. And when you're teaching them, they don't have to be perfect. It's a whole game changer. And I think the one thing I do want to share that I say a lot is to teach our clients to change these 2 words. So instead of saying, I can't have that because I'm on a diet, I teach them to say, I don't have that. No, I don't drink wine anymore. It just doesn't serve me, because then no one challenges them on that. But if you say, oh, I can't have a glass of wine, and everyone's having it, then they feel bad. And they're like, oh, of course you can. You can have a glass of wine. You've been doing so well. It's not going to hurt you. But if she says, no, I just don't drink wine anymore, it just doesn't serve me. It's like, oh, okay, good for you. It's a very different conversation. And it gives people, the more and more they practice that, the more confidence they develop in those situations. So
oh, that's great. That's great. And how do you manage it on your app that you guys do? Because I know you said you've got, with Balanced Habits, you've got an app, but you've also got the live or the Zoom consultations that you do. How do you manage that? Do they keep track of, is it like a food diary with recommendations? How do you manage their diet?
Yeah, so every day in the app, depending on the length of the program that they're on or the type of program that they're on, there's content. So, we're teaching them subtly, but in small amounts, like very small doses of information, so that they can absorb it and apply it. And then they do track on their app, how they're eating, and then they check in with their food coach weekly, and then they kind of review the journal and, see where they could make improvements. But the app is really more, it's a communication tool with their food coach, as well as, getting we do videos, a lot of videos that are in there. So, 2-minute videos on protein or on, goal setting or whatever it happens to be. But it's very intentional to help them to develop, these behaviors over time.
That's very helpful, because I think I started cooking over the pandemic, not just because we couldn't go out to restaurants, but because we do these webinars twice a week, and at least 25% of them end up being focused on what we're fueling our body with. And it just made me aware, and it just made me cognizant that this is fuel. And although I'm a big proponent of the antioxidants in red wine, I have sadly learned that it is not healthy. But some nights you just don't care about sleep. So anyway, but if you keep people aware of what they're ingesting, I think in some regards that's almost half the battle. Is just heightening their awareness and keeping them connected, like you said, like through an app and through Facebook pages that we do and things like that. Now, do you have clients that track their macros or their calories. Amber, do you work with people that track their calories, track their proteins and their carbs, or do you work just on basic calories? What do you find works best with different types of clients?
So I actually do a great deal of nutrition coaching with clients, and I love calorie tracking and macro tracking because what gets measured gets managed. So that is, I always tell my clients, tracking your food gives you data. And what it does is it helps you to realize, you may in your mind think, oh, I'm eating healthy fats. And you are, but when you track it and you see that your fat grams are like triple what you should be eating in a day, what that does is it brings that awareness, which the other ladies also spoke about, which is huge, to what you're putting in your body. And you realize, oops, I'm eating a little bit more of that healthy fat than I'm supposed to. Then you can easily adjust that. Now, it's not right for everybody. Some people, it makes them a little obsessive, and we don't want that of anything. I don't want to cause disordered eating with anyone. So I do like to use it though as a learning lesson, and I explain how we balance those out to make sure that you're getting all of the nutrients that you need in your diet. And a lot of it is just the awareness, like I said, and then getting those habits to where you know how to make those better choices and understand that, okay, you know, yes, I do need to eat this, but I need to make sure that I have enough protein with it too. It just brings that awareness and gives you that data so you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's great. And we're getting some wonderful comments here. Diana mentioned no white anything, flour or sugar. Well, I'm sorry, I have white yogurt. So there you go. And no processed foods either, which I think that's something. Okay, go ahead, Amber.
All right, y'all, processed foods. Let me ask you this. Do you go out there and wring the chicken's neck and pluck it? No, that chicken is processed. Your yogurt is processed. Your protein powder is processed. Be careful with those terms.
And then Heidi commented, Sohailla, on your, I love Greek yogurt with fruits and nuts, seeds, vanilla, cinnamon, cardamom, and no added refined sugars. So I think these are great. Heidi also said, my daughter has gotten really into making teas, and sometimes I am good and drink that instead of wine. Well, Heidi, that's terribly boring, but I'm impressed with you. Totally impressed. And I don't think, Diana said, I don't think people drink enough water. Have you found that, Carolyn, with your clients, that people aren't, as I grab my water over here, but that they're not hydrating themselves enough?
Yeah, 100%. And that's one of the things in our journal is, instead of having them mark off, you know, how many glasses of water they've ingested in a day, I have them pay attention to the color of their urine. And once they're paying attention to the color of their urine, they can look at it, and I give them a little chart on what it should look like when they're properly hydrated. Then they just kind of take ownership of it, instead of, oh, I forgot and I didn't mark off the bottles or whatever it happens to be. When they look at their urine and they're like, oh my gosh, it's amber. I call that an amber alert, you know, just kind of a play on that.
Sorry,
then
they
just start drinking more water. So I think that kind of gives them a little bit more of comprehension, because it's so vague, because like I live in the desert, as I said earlier, and I'm a runner. So I have to drink a different amount of water than is suggested, you know, 8 glasses of water in a day, or I'll be dehydrated. So I think it's too subjective to say, 8 glasses of water in a day. So I'd rather give them a tool so that they're more aware, because that's hydration is tough for people.
Yeah, because you don't know, some days it's really hot out, really humid. And what scares me is when I'm sitting at my desk and I realize, I have not gone to the bathroom, and I realize I'm just not drinking enough too.
Yeah.
So I think that is really great. Are there suggestions that you find that work, Sohailla, to get people to hydrate properly and eat? Maybe, I think what we were referring to with the processed foods is like looking at the ingredients and seeing 20 different words you can't pronounce on there. I think that's what we might be referring to with the processed foods.
And someone else, if I can tie in my answer to this, with somebody else asked, how can you track but not track? Because she said in her words, tracking does her in, and it might, I think she might have meant that it overwhelms you or adds just one more thing to your plate or obsesses, whatever it is. And so I do, just if I may answer both of those, since that was on the back end, I will answer the hydration one. I really do think it depends on the person. And I think, I can't do 8 glasses. I will be parched and I will be on Amber Alert, because I, like you, I live in Georgia. There's humidity is 100%. I'm running. So everybody's different. So it is hard. And I think the urine color is a good way. Also, just your thirst sensation. And everybody's got a different way to do it. I tell my people to drink 4 tall glasses a day, however tall yours needs to be. If it's a water bottle, then put 4 water bottles and make sure you drain them. If it's a big pitcher, then fill your favorite insulated cup with your favorite gummy straw, whatever it is. Or if you're at your nightstand or your bathroom stand in the morning, you put a big tall iced Yeti there the night before. So when you wake up, it's like perfectly frosted and you're thirsty because you just got up and you drink it down. And then when you get to your office, you have this cup that makes you want to go fill it up at your office water, whatever it is. Like, be strategic to make it happen. And then my favorite tip for me is, on the way to the gym, drink a bottle, fill it up when you get there at that nice little water bottle with non-waster thing that most of our gyms have. It tells you how many plastics you've saved. Fill that up, drain it during an hour if you can. 20 ounces during an hour is really reasonable if you do it in sips, and then refill it on your way home and make the most of your thirst and your time. That's a window that you've kind of allotted towards your wellness and your self-care. So it's easier to hydrate during those times. And that way you don't feel like you're forcing yourself as much at times when you don't feel like hydrating. So most people feel thirsty in the morning. So if you have that iced down Yeti with, mint leaves floating in it the night before, it's going to stay frosty. Even if you get the cheap Walmart Yeti brand, you find out it stays overnight. It may not stay for 48 hours, but all those different things can help people really make those choices. And then as far as the logging, what not logging, do you mind if I answer that question that somebody
Sure,
put?
go ahead, please.
A quick thing, and I've got my little pen here and a piece of paper, and I'm just going to draw beautifully, of course. And I could draw it on the whiteboard behind me, but just for quickly, this would be half of your plate, and you want it to be, USDA says fruits and veggies. I find for active people, fruits aren't hard to get in. And so usually they do plenty of fruits in their smoothies or as their snacks or as their desserts. So I usually tell people focus on veggies. And if you're trying to grow, like my 3 kids who are all middle school and high schoolers, then this might be a mix of starchy and not starchy veggies, because non-starchy veggies are like green beans, whereas starchy are like sweet potatoes, and they have 3 times the calories as non-starchy. So load this up. Think of it like Christmas, red and green, varieties of red and green. So orangish, purplish, whatever you can get on there. And then take your pen and divide the other half. And this is for those of you who get stressed out putting in an app. If it feels like one more thing, or if you're 55 and you don't want to pick up your phone for one more thing, a lot of my 55-year-old clients is like, don't put it on my phone. I have to get my grandson in here every time, and I'm so stressed out. And not everybody's like that, but many of my clients are. I just tell them, grab a piece of paper, use a little journal that fits in like my mom, she loves to have a little mini spiral notebook in her purse at all times. I'm like, whip that thing out. You don't have to follow how.
So you have them use the circle, and
Yeah.
they divide it in half.
And just
the
write
bottom is the veggies and the fruit. And what's the top?
So we've got, thank you for keeping me on track, Sarah.
I know we're at 6:45. You have 15
Protein.
seconds.
Protein, lean protein on one side, doesn't have to be plant-based, doesn't have to be meat-based. Starch or grain mixed together or separate, grains and rice, or just rice, however you want to do it. And then lots of color down here, lots of fiber, and then a thumb tip of fat at every meal, because like Amber said, we can really overdo the fat. That keto has gotten people thinking that they should eat a whole avocado and a whole bag of nuts, and we can overdo that. So if you can do that at least 2 of your meals, that's a big game changer for a lot of people. And some people who are stressed about logging, I say, well, I give them a printout of these and I say, check them off if you did it.
Okay. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, Amber, I'm gonna let you give us just a quick 15 minutes, best advice to shed that extra pandemic pounds.
Get your protein up, eat vegetables at every meal, and move your body doing something fun you love.
Okay, love it. Carolyn.
Keep it super simple. Don't try to overcomplicate anything as far as your health journey goes, and you'll probably be more successful than you know.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm going to show you guys. We were talking about this. We're going to be going live at Midwest Mania. We've got everything online here for you guys, and you don't miss out on this conference.
Wake up to the world you've been missing. Time to jump out of bed in the morning. No day, no life, never living. Can you feel it in the air that you're breathing? Time to show 'em what you're made of. Let's get back on track. Are you ready for a come on? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around? Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around? Welcome back. Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around? Welcome back. Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around? Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around?
Very exciting. We are thrilled to be having this live conference, and we hope that you guys will join us. We have a wonderful certification smash coming up in about 3 weeks, online, virtual. We've got our nutrition certification. We've got a nutrition hormone certification and active aging nutrition certification. And you can see these 3 lovely ladies presenting at Mania. We have a full nutrition track, 16 specific workshops on nutrition. So I'm done selling. I want to thank Chris Purple, who did our wonderful, managed us. I want to thank Amber for coming. Sohailla, thank you so much for coming. And Carolyn, thank you for coming. And thank you all for joining us tonight. I appreciate you guys coming.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, thank you.